face. Now, other 2016 GOP candidates are starting to take on the Black Lives Matter movement. Both Senator Rand Paul and Governor Scott Walker today taking heat for their comments. And one Missouri mom is defending her attack on the protesters after she called them out for marching to defend what she called a thug killed by police, while ignoring the death of a 9-year-old girl killed by a stray bullet just a day earlier. Here again is Peggy Hubbard.
This guy dies. This Bay guy dies, and all of a sudden, there's a full-blown riot in the neighborhood I grew up in. And there's nothing for her. And we're hollering, Black Lives Matter. He had his chance to matter. He chose his path. He chose his destiny. Jamila never got her destiny. She never got her promises. Her life mattered. Her dreams mattered. Her vision mattered. She could have been the next Secretary of State. She could have been the next Attorney General. She never got a chance.
Lieutenant Colonel Allen West is a former congressman and CEO of the National Center for Policy Analysis. And Richard Fowler is a nationally syndicated radio host. Richard, let me start with you on this. Where's she going wrong?
Well, I don't think this grandmother's going wrong at all. I think this young girl, lives matter, and I was in St. Louis last week, and if I remember correctly, being there was indeed a rally for her and a visual for her life where the police and the community showed up together and talked about how they could work on making the community safer, right? But here's the thing. How do we stop a stray bullet from killing this young girl? We get illegal guns off the street. We provide more background checks. We limit, high-capacity magazines, all things we can do to make sure that another little young girl doesn't die.
So it's the guns, Colonel West. It's the guns.
That's what killed her.
Well, that's a pleasure to be with you, Megan. That's always the fallback and the excuse. But when you look at the 4th of July weekend in Chicago, which has some of the most restricted gun laws in the United States of America, you had 10 black individuals that lost their lives, to include Amari Brown, a 7-year-old boy. Some 50 were wounded because of guns. And if Richard is correct, there should not be any gun violence in Chicago because they have those restricted laws. As a matter of fact, there would not be the thousands of people that have lost their lives. Or even in Baltimore, you would not have an epidemic of shootings there where you have some of the most restricted gun laws. The bottom line is that there are people in the Democrat Party, liberal progressives, that don't want to face the facts that there are failed policies within the black community, within the urban centers, that are causing the breakdown of the family. They're causing the lack of education opportunities. It's causing the lack of small business entrepreneurship.
Speak to that last point in particular, Richard, the breakdown of the family and the role that's playing and not being addressed.
Listen, nothing breaks down a family, right? Love is what makes a family a family. It's not having a father or a mother in the family.
Totally
That's not
irrelevant.
What makes them
Absentee
a family.
fathers and 70+% of these families, meaningless to you.
It is. I'm from an absentee father, and I'm sitting right here on the show with 2 degrees.
And you're the rule,
so
not the exception?
No, I think that, don't get me wrong, I think that we need to provide more opportunities in our community, right? And how we do that is by providing proper funding, creating community centers, mentorship, right? That's how we do it. But if you talk to the police chief in Chicago, what he will tell you is the reason why the streets of Chicago are so violent is because of illegal guns being on those streets. The first thing we've got to do, whether you're Democrat, Republican, or indifferent, is get those illegal guns off the streets. How you do it? Providing background checks at gun shows, limiting high-capacity magazines, making sure that the wrong people don't get guns.
I'm going to give the floor to Colonel West, but how does that address the people who want to kill?
It takes the guns off the streets,
okay,
Megan.
But there are other ways to do it, and we've seen machete attacks, we've seen,
machete attacks don't kill 51 people.
The urge to kill?
I agree with you. We have to address the urge to kill, but you cannot change hearts and minds. What you've got to change is policy and procedure.
All right, I'll give it to you, Colonel West. I guess if we just get rid of the one weapon, we can stop the murders from the wannabe murderers.
Well, first of all, it was a black gentleman who challenged the gun control laws in Chicago because he did not feel safe in his home. The second thing is we're in the 50th year of the Great Society programs of Lyndon Baines Johnson. And one of the things that he did was he promised women who have children out of wedlock a check from the government, and as long as they never had a man in the home, they will continue to get a check. 50 years ago, the 2-parent household in the black community was at 77%. Today it's at 25%. Let's talk about the real issues. It's not about a gun.
Colonel,
No, Richard, it's not about a gun.
I'm glad you read the Republican Party's talking points to the black community, but that doesn't answer the fact that right now, right here, kids need mentors. Kids need mentors.
Something's
We
happening
need
on the
job
Democratic side.
opportunities on every Republican policy.
You guys are wonderful, though.
Pick one
This is why we
Republican
need like an
policy that fails.
online segment to
One.
expand. I wanted to keep
No
going,
facts,
but
Colonel, no facts.
they rap me so often. Oh, they're getting mean now. Okay, great to see you.